Hey everyone, thank you for joining me again for the recording of this week's blog. This topic is very important to me because it talks about embarking on a spiritual path, what to look for as you do so, and I'm hoping that for those of you who are just starting or down the road, it might add some information that you might not be thinking of. So let's begin. This week's blog is sort of a continuation of last week's, entitled Being the Light. In that discussion, we asked the questions, what does it mean to be on a spiritual path, and are some of us on one and others are not? We learned that we're all on a spiritual path, regardless of whether we're aware of that we are or not. This week, we asked the questions, so why should we be aware of our spiritual path, and what are our reasons for pursuing our spiritual growth? Like everything else we experience in the physical world, we can either view it from the ego's perspective of what's in it for me, or the soul's perspective, what's in it for us as a unified whole. In the former, we're operating from a level of consciousness that focuses on me, myself, and I, nothing more. The latter's focus is on the collective we, always aware that whatever choices we make have an impact on every other soul, whether incarnate or discarnate. So let us first look at the one where our ego is directing our lives, and we choose to focus on the spiritual path because it will benefit us, ourselves. The ego, as we've talked about before, the ego is rarely grateful for what's happening in the present moment, and it's always searching for anything it thinks will bring it happiness. Focusing on a spiritual path, then, is just another attempt by the ego to find a way to be successful and content in this confusing and sometimes chaotic world. Being spiritual for the ego is just an identification that it believes will make us feel better about ourselves and will bring us the success and perhaps even the notoriety that it often desperately seeks. It tells us we may make a lot of money writing and selling spiritual books or teaching seminars. We can call ourselves spiritual teachers and perhaps become famous and revered, so we falsely believe we're superior to others and worthy of their admiration and respect. We may work tirelessly to learn all we can about spiritual truths and then appear to be on a fervent path toward enlightenment. However, our ego's seemingly good intentions are a mask we don to hide our own insecurities, as well as our desperate search for acceptance and validation. Many times we're not only deceiving others, but we're deceiving ourselves as well. Throughout my many years of focusing on spiritual growth, consciousness, and the evolution of the soul, I've come across some teachers with negative intentions who, despite their deceits, they really have helped many people with what they taught. Those people or students already had a good sense of self and what I call a good inner truth meter that was in good working order, so they could determine for themselves whether someone was authentic or not. They were able to recognize that something about the teacher was just off, and yet the teachings were valuable and worth exploring further for themselves. These unethical teachers have also hurt many as well. The sometimes narcissistic ego is very cunning and shrewd, luring people into its web of deception and making them believe that the teacher, and this is important, the teacher is more important than the teachings. Those vulnerable people are eager and willing to turn their personal power over to anyone who can give them the answers they are seeking so they can live a peaceful and meaningful life. Dishonest spiritual teachers, and even some that are good ones and want to be good ones, who have deceived themselves into believing they are some sort of a messiah are more than willing to take the power handed over to them. When the teacher's fraudulent intentions are revealed, those who have followed him or her piously feel abandoned and just as lost and hopeless as when they first decided to follow that individual. They were duped into believing that doing so was better or easier than doing the inner work necessary so they could discover their own sacred temple of their vast and powerful soul, where they could access the wisdom and truths they were seeking for themselves. Conversely, when our souls have been given access to our minds, the egos are silenced and our heart centers are activated. Love becomes our sole motive, and the spiritual growth and evolution of not only our own soul, but all souls that cross our paths become a priority and part of our life purpose. We seek to experience spiritual truth by raising our vibration and elevating our consciousness so that we have our own miraculous spiritual awakening. If we choose to teach, we do so by helping others remember their true nature as a beautiful, vast, and powerful soul. We can write books, we can teach classes, we can do individual counseling or consulting, yet our main objective is not to gain a continuous client or customer, but instead to guide people back home to themselves. We can help them learn meditation and mindfulness so they can intimately connect to their soul, because it alone can reveal one's true life purpose and mission during this incarnation. Once someone who has been entrusted to us has gained their soulful strength and spiritual footing, they can then move from student to teacher and do the same for others. We all are continuously moving back and forth from teacher to student. There's always someone more spiritually evolved than we are that can teach us more of the great truth that we are, when we are ready and able to understand it, integrate it. Sometimes those highly evolved people turn out to be one of the people we have assisted in awakening and remembering who they really are. They emerge from their state of amnesia and unconsciousness and blow us away with their ability to reach into the higher realms, access greater levels of consciousness, and reveal to us incredible esoteric and heavenly truths. In moments such as these, which I have experienced firsthand, a state of humility rather than arrogance is called for that can allow us to move easily from teacher to pupil. The student we taught has now helped us to move to the next level of spiritual evolution. When that happens, there is a feeling of tremendous gratitude for having been trusted enough by our team of light to be a vehicle through which such beautiful transcendence has emerged. It truly is of utmost importance that we understand that we are all interconnected and interdependent on one another. Helping other souls helps ourselves and all other souls, both here on other undiscovered worlds and in spirit. I believe that is how we achieve spiritual growth and ultimately complete our journey back home to our Creator God. So I hope you enjoyed this. This was a really important blog for me to write because I think it's just really important for all of us not to get confused about what we are learning, what spiritual truth we are looking for to learn, and the person who's delivering them to us. For myself, when I started on this journey many, many years ago, it started off like most people do with reading lots and lots of books on metaphysical topics. And what happens is when you read a book or you listen to tapes or no, it's not tapes, CDs or stream it, you find the books, those materials have been written by someone who is usually, as they're writing them, they're in a state of consciousness that's higher, more elevated, more expansive. So when we're reading it, we get this kind of a feeling like we know this is true. It feels so good to remember at that moment. And it is an amazing feeling. But then what happens is you get to the end of the book and you're like, no, I don't want it to end because I don't know what I'll do if I don't have this. So you run out and you get something else or find a different teacher that is doing the same thing. And this is not bad. This is all part of it. But at some point, when we feel ready, or even when we're not ready, we begin to try to do the same for ourselves. In other words, we must get to the point where we can access those truths for ourselves. And of course, the only way to do this, and I say it over and over, is you have to go within. You have to take the time to enter the stillness, enter the silence, enter the temple of our soul, and listen and elevate our own consciousness. And then we can still do those things. We can still read books. I still find books that I'm absolutely astonished at. And then I go back home to myself, go within myself, and access more. I usually ask questions before I go into a meditation. I need to know this. Tell me about it. And when you do this, you will get the own answers. The point here is no one is more enlightened than you are. You just are not aware that you are. You have to just do the work to open yourself up, remember who you are, and then you can help others the way other people has helped you. But the bottom line is the teachings are important. They're not important. Well, the teachers, I'm not saying we are important. Of course, teachers are important because they lead you, but they're signposts on the road. They're leading you back home to yourself. And that's a teacher's role. A spiritual teacher's role is that. Not to say, keep coming back because I'm the only one that can help you. That is a red flag to be very careful of. So anyway, again, enough for me. I again thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again next week. Everyone have a spectacular day and namaste.